How many design projects can you handle at the same time without falling behind, burning out, and potentially ruining your client relationship? In this video, I'm going to share with you some tips on how to determine your project capacity and manage multiple projects at the same time without losing your mind. Let me ask you this. Would you say no to a great design client who wants to work with you? Of course not. Why would you, right? Now, would you say no to another great client that comes knocking at your door? Bring it on. I mean, the more the merrier, right? What about a third? What about a fourth? Managing too many projects is a nice problem to have. It means that you have inquiries that are coming your way and some really great clients you're excited to work with. But I also know from experience that saying yes to every opportunity that comes your way is not always best for you or your client. Now, context switching is when you shift your attention between different tasks, apps, or projects. So for example, you work on a website for client A, but then client B asks you where the logo files are, so you quickly send that to them. And then, well, here you are in your inbox, so might as well check your emails. And then you see a question from client C, so you reply to that, and then you're back to client's A website. I mean, you get the idea. Just that already sounds really exhausting. And the American Psychological Association actually did a study on this and reported that repeated context switching can cost as much as 40% of someone's productive time. That's a lot. So while having lots of clients and lots of projects may seem like a great thing for your business, you need to be aware of how much can you physically and mentally take on without impacting the quality of your work, your communication, and your relationship with your client. And to begin with, you need to determine your capacity and figure out how many projects can you realistically do in a given period, for example, per month or per year, so you don't overcommit yourself. So for that, you'll need to look at your past projects and determine how long it took you to complete each one. And then you'll want to create a timeline to get a rough understanding of your maximum capacity. So you can use Notion for that, or Asana, ClickUp, or simply Google Sheets, like I'm going to use for this example. So let's say that in general, your projects last from 8 to 14 weeks, depending on the scope of the project. Let's take 12 weeks as an example here, as an average, and we're going to place it on the timeline. Now, the next thing is that you need to determine for yourself how many projects are you actually capable and comfortable working on at the same time. I know for me, for example, because I currently work only 3 days a week, I ideally like to work on 2 client projects maximum so that I have enough time for my academy and also some other internal projects. Ideally, I try to never overlap client onboarding phases like this because the beginning of the project is really strategy heavy for me, and I just prefer not to do that for 2 clients at the same time. So instead of scheduling projects to begin on the same date, what I prefer to do is actually schedule the next project halfway through. That way, I'm onboarding the second client while I'm in the middle of the project, which is usually the design or the development phase for project 1. And then the next project, project number 3, for example, will come when I'm offboarding project 1 and I'm in the design or development phase of project 2. And based on that, if I continue planning my timeline like this until the end of the year, if my calculations are correct, I should be able to fit in about 9 projects a year. Of course, this is an ideal case scenario and doesn't always work out this way. I mean, sometimes projects are longer, sometimes projects overlap differently. Sometimes I have 3 or maybe even 4 projects I'm wrapping up at the same time. And of course, this doesn't account for time off, holidays, and all of that. But this gives us a better understanding of our capacity and a foundation that we can now use to schedule projects more intentionally. Now, this exercise can also be quite useful if you want to see where you stand on your financial goals. Let's say I have a goal of bringing in $80,000 a year. If I can only fit 9 projects, or for easier math, let's say 10 projects a year, that means that on average, my projects need to be about 8K each. Is that the case, or do I need to raise my prices? Or maybe I need to see if I can fit in more projects into my schedule. Now, of course, I can also have shorter projects that may cost less, or longer projects that I may be charging more for. I could also have additional income that I need to take into consideration. But as you can see, this exercise can help you brainstorm around that as well and ensure that you are on track with your financial goals. But let's go back to project management. In general, to help you schedule and manage your projects, I really recommend using some kind of project management tool where you can create a timeline to track all your current and upcoming projects, so you can check your capacity every time a new project, a new inquiry comes in. At the time of recording this, I'm using Notion for all my business and project management, and also to create my client portals. I have a timeline of all the projects I'm currently working on, and also the projects that are happening soon. And this really helps ensure that I don't accidentally say yes to too many opportunities and overcrowd my schedule, because I have a visual representation of what is it that I'm currently working on. Now, depending on the project, sometimes that means telling the client that my next availability is going to be in a few months, and see if they're okay with waiting until then. As a small design studio, I don't have the capacity of working with 5, 6, 7 clients at the same time. That would be impossible. So I have to be very intentional about my schedule so I can focus on delivering the best quality of work for my current clients. Of course, not every client is going to be happy with that setup and, want to wait weeks before they can actually start working with you. But more often than not, at least from my experience, they're okay with that situation because they can actually use this time to prepare for their project by working with a copywriter or doing a new photo shoot, or perhaps we can actually run the strategy session before their official project start date to at least get them started. What I have found helpful to ensure I'm not wasting my clients' time is to ensure potential clients are actually aware of my limited availability by either making a small note on my website that says to inquire at least 1 month in advance, or showing your current availability like this or like this, or asking in your contact form what would be your client's preferred start date or launch date. That way, if it doesn't align with your availability, you can get back to them and let them know that you're currently accepting clients for whatever month. And if they're still interested, then they can book a call with you. Now, besides using a project management tool to create a timeline of all your projects, I also use it to actually manage and keep track of all the tasks inside each project. So inside Notion, I'll create a project portal that the client can access to check on the progress of the project, with a breakdown of each phase and all the tasks that either me or my client need to complete. You don't need to have an advanced setup like this. It could also be a simple Kanban style layout where you simply show the upcoming project tasks. There are lots of different templates you can find online for different project management tools. So find a system that works for you and helps you track the progress of your projects. Another thing that helps me stay organized with multiple projects and ensure that I'm prioritizing the right things is time blocking my calendar. Time blocking is basically when you block a period of time to work on a specific project or a specific task, and helps you minimize context switching during that period of time. Since I only work 3 days a week, I need to be conscious of my workload and make sure I prioritize the right things. So every Thursday afternoon, just before I wrap up my week, I'm going to look at my workload and roughly schedule the next week by blocking time off for specific clients, for business development, and for other internal projects. I'm not going to plan everything to the T, everything to the minute, but I do keep those hours blocked off so that I don't plan any client calls or any personal meetings during that time. Then when I'm actually working inside a time block, I use the Pomodoro technique with a digital kitchen timer like this. This is just from Amazon. I don't know why, but I always perform better with a physical timer that I can hold and see and touch than an app. And I just started to get stuff done. Now, this strategy obviously works for me, but of course, everyone has different ways of working, focusing, and staying productive. So the key really is to find the approach that you will feel comfortable with and that will help you be productive. And finally, the last important element of successfully managing multiple projects is, of course, communication. Most issues that occur during a project happen because of poor communication and poorly established expectations and boundaries. So for me, ensuring that my client is always informed not only on what I'm currently working on, but also what's expected from them and what are the next steps is really important. And that's when your client portal may come useful, or having some kind of project management tool where they can just log in and view the progress of the project. But that also means ensuring that you're clear on how are you going to communicate during the project. In my case, I prefer to keep communication inside emails. Some people prefer to use the project management tool and keep all the communication inside there. Whatever you choose, you need to ensure that your client is aware of that and they understand what your preferred method of communication is, and that you keep them informed every step of the way. Now, of course, there's so many different strategies for managing your projects, for being productive. We have to remember that we all have a limited amount of time where we can actually help our clients. And if you try to fit in way too many projects, way too many clients into that short time frame, it's not going to do you or your clients any good. So do the exercise to understand what is your capacity, how many projects can you realistically fit during the year, and start scheduling your projects more intentionally. I hope you find this exercise useful, and of course, leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video.